Hey everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Alert, 10 Alarming Signs You Need Help with PPC. We're really excited to have you here. My name's Callie, and I'm here to get things started. I want to get the logistics out of the way so I can hand it over to Erin and she can get straight to all the fun. So following the presentation, you'll receive an email with today's recordings and slides. We'll also have time for Q&A at the end, so don't be shy. We definitely encourage you to submit your questions throughout the webinar, and we'll get to as many as possible. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with WordStream, we are a search marketing software provider with both free and paid tools to help you easily grow your AdWords and Bing campaigns. So if you're looking to master paid search, definitely check out our website. We have a PPC University, and you can check that all at wordstream.com/learn. Now, we encourage you to be social throughout the presentation today and join in on the conversation on Twitter. So definitely follow at WordStream and then our presenter at Erin Sagin. Now I have the great pleasure of introducing our wonderful presenter, Erin Sagin. She is our PPC evangelist and community manager here at WordStream. She's been here for 4+ years. When she's not knee-deep in PPC or writing blog posts or traveling the country speaking at industry conferences, she is an avid hula hooper. She loves to travel, and she has a mild obsession with Netflix, not going to lie. And you can definitely tweet her at any point at Erin Sagin with any questions or comments or what have you, and she's really good at responding, so definitely check her out. So now I'm going to hand it over to Erin.
All right, hi guys, and Callie, thank you. It was always a lovely introduction. Like Callie said, my goal for this webinar is to help you guys identify if you need help with your paid search account. And I encourage you to kind of be as vocal as possible as we go through this. We have a full, 57 minutes left. And I don't want to be the only person kind of dictating to you. If you guys have questions or comments on what I talk about, please don't hesitate to submit those as we go, and I'll try and save some time at the end for it. I think the biggest problem when people try and figure out if they need help with PPC is it's really tough to diagnose if you have a problem with your PPC account if you look at one account all day. Right? You have no perspective. You don't know how you stack up against others. You don't know how other industries are doing in comparison to you or others in your industry. So it's kind of like you're in the dark because you're only seeing your own account. And my goal is to help you turn on those lights and actually understand from somebody who's seen a broad range of accounts what these signs are that you need some additional help with your paid search. So without further ado, here are my top 10 ways to identify that you need help with PPC. And the first one is if your account is disorganized. Now, I can't tell you how often I see people fall into this trap, particularly if you're new to paid search or multiple people have been building out the same account. There is this nasty habit of tossing all of your keywords into a singular ad group. And this is incredibly dangerous. And as you can see here, I liken it to that garage that, you toss a few pieces of junk in there, and then 6 months later you go in and you have this complete nightmare because you just keep tossing junk in the garage and closing the door. So the reason this clutter is so dangerous for your account is because if you have one ad group with a wide variety of keywords, all of the ads for that ad group have to be a good fit for each one of those keywords. So that's really nearly impossible. And even if you do have ads that make sense for all of the keywords in the ad group, there's no way that they're highly targeted to what people are looking for. And it's an automatic lose-lose situation. You have a mess on your hands as the advertiser, but as the person who's doing the searching and seeing the ad, they're going to see an ad that makes no sense to them 99% of the time, or a super generic ad. So take the time to dive into your account and start cutting the clutter. And you'll see, I'm talking about deleting a ton of things. And I think deleting is hard for us to do because we've been the ones who added all these new keywords. We're the ones who built out this account. And kind of hard to delete things that you've worked hard on, but it's important to do. So we recommend deleting keywords with little to no impression. Now, if a keyword is brand new, of course it's going to have a low impression count. So you need to let it run for a significant period of time to understand whether or not there is volume available for it. So ensure that you're letting it run for a little while. I can't give you a definite amount of time that you would need it to run because it's really dependent on the amount of volume your account is getting, but make sure you're kind of giving it a shot. And another thing to think about with these keywords, if you do feel strongly that it's a good keyword, but you're seeing it's getting no impressions, think about putting it in a different ad group, or think about changing your bid for it. Because what you may be doing is just be underbidding so vastly that that word just has no chance of getting any visibility. But in general, we want to think about deleting keywords that are just not getting impressions because they're crap. They're in your way. They make it harder for you to see what's going on in your account. It's just a bunch of noise. Same thing goes for useless ads and useless landing pages. With ads, it's great if you're testing your ads, but don't leave every single ad that you've ever tested running in your account. A/B test your ads, pause what doesn't work, set up a new alternative. You shouldn't have 5 or 6 ads per ad group. You should usually have 2 to 3. Too many ads, again, causes clutter and makes it harder to optimize your account. And then finally, useless landing pages. This is something we see more rarely. In fact, usually I'm encouraging people to create new landing pages, but if you are in a situation where you have extraneous landing pages that you're not really seeing good results with, get rid of them. I alluded to this earlier as well. Aside from deleting, you should be doing some reorganization efforts. So first things first, think about creating these teeny tiny, tightly knit, semantically related ad groupings. I'm going to repeat that again. Tiny, tightly knit, semantically related. Here's why. They need to be tiny because, as I said before, you only have a couple ads in the ad group that are going to serve all of these keywords. Each keyword should be relevant to the ad that you're serving it with. So if you have a group like this one, I mean, this is disgusting. Buyback, 205 keywords. There is no way you can tell me that one ad can serve all of these keywords. This ad group should be broken up into smaller groupings. Normally, if we see that number rise around 25 up to 30, it's a sign that you need to start dissecting your ad group. Remember, the words in the ad group also need to be semantically related. They don't just need to be organized by ideas or themes. It should be actual terminology that you're using. Because again, we want the terminology of the words that people are typing in to match the terminology used in the ad. So mobile phone versus cell phone. You would probably want an ad group for cell phones and an ad group for mobile phones. They mean the same thing, but if somebody is searching for a cell phone, they're less likely to see an ad that says mobile phones and have it resonate. If they type in cell phone, see an ad that says cell phone, that exact terminology they used, they're more likely to click on it. So this is kind of a strategy to live by. Keep your ad groups smaller. Always better to have smaller ones than bigger ones. Here in WordStream, you can see we actually show you the number of keywords you have per ad group, so we make it really easy to identify your high alert ad groups. But if you're doing it in AdWords, I mean, literally spend the time, scroll through your ad groups and see what you can break up. Chances are there's a ton that you can do with that. And you're going to feel a lot better. I mean, I already feel better. When I was looking at that hoarder garage situation, it was stressing me out. This garage, they've deleted a bunch of stuff, they've cleaned it up, and now they can accurately kind of assess what's going on in that garage, and it's going to be easier to find the tools they need. This is the same sentiment you should have about your account. So that brings me to point number 2. You're starting from scratch. If any of you guys are out there starting brand new accounts, or if you're working with agencies that are constantly taking on new accounts, you'll know this is never an easy feat. So when you're starting from scratch, you got to think of it this way. I mean, Rome, it's beautiful. It wasn't built in a day. It was built over years and years and years, and it's constantly, you know, things are falling down. They're building them back up. It's a process. It's not something immediate. And that's the same perspective you need to have as you build an account. It's going to be an ongoing process, an ongoing battle to build a strong account. So first things first, when you kick off that new account and you really start with your foundation, you need to make sure that you're starting it off on a sound, solid foundation, which means doing your keyword research and doing it justice. I can't tell you how many people solely focus on keyword tools like you see at the bottom, right? We have the keyword planner. This is also another cool keyword tool that our team uses. There are tons of cool keyword tools out there, but you can't solely rely on keyword tools. You also have to get to know the business, and that's not something you should take lightly. If you're an agency, spend a lot of time getting to know your client, understanding the ins and outs of their business and who their target audiences are, right? You need to understand that audience to accurately create keywords that fit what they're looking for. So you can't have this mindset where it's like not your problem to learn about their business. All you want to do is spend time in keyword tools. You need to use a combination of both. Get to know them, get to know their business, and then use keyword tools to flesh out your kind of initial keyword list. And from there, you need to go on with a plan. You know what a structure for an account should look like. Take this structure and really do it justice. Make sure that you're setting up keywords that make sense into tight ad groups and putting those ad groups into campaigns. This seems simple, but if you don't take the time really plotting it out and preparing ahead of time, and you just start by throwing a couple words up and running, you'll definitely run into problems later on. So really give some thought to how you want to organize the account, especially when it comes to your campaigns. Do you want to do them by products? Do you want to do them by locations? Take the time to think about what makes sense for your business. There's definitely no one-size-fits all. Unfortunately, I think it would be easier for all of us if there was, but the reality is you need to understand the account and create a plan that you believe makes the most sense for this particular business. And that brings me to point number 3. Your click-through rates are abysmal. If your click-through rates are abysmal, you need to do some soul searching and you need to dive into your account and figure out what the heck is going on. So you might be thinking, all right, fine, but I don't even know what a good click-through rate is. You know what a good click-through rate is in comparison to yourself, but what's the industry average? Trick question. It depends. And the reason I say that is because when Google considers a click-through rate and wants to know whether your click-through rate is good or bad, they don't look at the click-through rate in isolation. They look at the click-through rate in conjunction with the position that you've scored. So Google is going to expect high click-through rates. If you're in position number 1, 2, or 3, you see they expect click-through rates of 5, 6%, these super high click-through rates. And then as we fall further down the page, if you're in position number 7 and you're still scoring a 1% click-through rate, Google's okay with that because they understand that the likelihood of getting clicks is a lot lower as you fall further down the page. So when you assess your click-through rates in conjunction with looking at the position that you're scoring. That's the only fair way to assess them. And when it comes to click-through rates, kind of the name of the game here is to always strive for higher. As you can see, the median click-through rate rolls in at 2.35%. For some people, that might be good, but for some people, like the sky's the limit and they can go a lot further. So don't just settle for average. Nobody gets a C on a paper and they're like, oh, nice, I did all right. No, everyone's like, I got a C, I want an A. You should be striving for that A. As you can see, 5% click-through rates coming in for people top 25 percentile. And people who were really, really knocking out of the park were able to hit at more than an 11.45% click-through rate. So the sky is the limit. If you're rolling in at a 2% as your average click-through score or click-through rate, you need to think again and start pulling some levers and figure out what you can do to improve those click-through rates. And one of the best ways to do this is to really consider the ad text that you're creating. Now, theoretically, you should have small, tightly knit, granular ad groups, like we talked about before. And if you have these really tight-knit ad groups with really, really specific terminology in them, then it makes it a lot easier to write your ad text. So when you're working in WordStream, as you can see here, we have a lot of recommendations that we plug in as you write an ad to help you create an ad that we believe will have a high click-through rate. So first things first, take the time to ensure that you're using the keywords in the ad group in your ad. Not only will this be beneficial because Google will see that string of relevancy, as will the people who are searching for them, right? If you see something that's exactly like what you searched for, chances are you'll believe it to be relevant and you'll click on it. But it's not only that. Also because if the keyword that someone types in, or the search query that someone types in, matches a keyword in your ad, that word will be bolded in the ad. So even if you are in a lower position, it will draw more eyeballs to your ad and make it stand out more prominently on the landing page. Then as you can see, and I'll use my pointer to kind of show you, so that was the recommendation for the headline. And of course, line 1, a keyword-rich description of your offer. Line 2, you want to think about that call to action. Every ad needs a call to action. If you tell somebody what you want them to do before they make it to your landing page, they are way more likely to actually follow through and do it. So make sure you're including a call to action. When it comes to your display URL, make sure you're sneaking in one of those keywords because this is just a vanity URL. You can add whatever words you want to it as long as it maintains the same domain as a final URL and fits in the character limit. So why not take that domain and then tack on a keyword, making it an even more keyword-rich ad. And then finally, run a best practices check. These are all of the things that we believe help click-through rate. And it's proven. Like in the accounts that we work on, we see higher click-through rates if you're using keywords in your ad, if you punctuate the end of line 1, making your ad eligible for a mega headline. If you add a descriptive term to the display URL, like we said, capitalize each word in your ad, the first letter of each word in your ad, so using title case, and then of course, enabling extensions to make the ad bigger, more prominent, and frankly, hold more information. If you can follow these best practices, those are all of the technical things you must keep in mind to get a high click-through rate. So you want to think about the granularity of the ad group, following these technical best practices, and then the last piece is pretty simple. Write a compelling ad. Sounds easier than it actually is, but you really want to think about writing ads that entice people and catch people's attention. And the best way to ensure that you're always improving these ads from a creative standpoint is just always A/B testing them, right? Always creating new versions of the ads to see what resonates the best with your target audience. All right, that brings me to number 4, which I put in here on behalf of Larry Kim. Your average quality score is 5 or lower. According to Larry, who's the WordStream founder, quality score is king when it comes to search. So what is quality score? Quality score is Google's way of telling you how they think you are doing. And the primary factor in quality score is click-through rate. Right? That's a good way for Google to understand how you're doing, is if people are clicking on your ads, it's telling Google that you're targeting keywords that make sense and that you're writing ad copy that resonates with people. So you're giving people things that are relevant to what they're looking for. And then they look at a couple other things as well. They look at your landing pages. They want to ensure that people are spending time on your landing pages, engaging on your landing pages, not hitting them and then bouncing right off them because they realize the landing pages don't offer what they're looking for. They look at your historical performance. If you've done well in the past, it's a good indication that you know what you're doing and you kind of have your life together. And the reason Google has created this concept of quality score is because Google is a super customer-centric company. There's a reason when you want to know something, you don't say to your friend, hey, can you ask Jeeves that? Or could you bing that for me? No one's saying, like, could you dogpile that and let me know? No, you're saying, can you Google that for me? Google has become an incredibly popular search engine because we trust it. Because when I look for something on Google, I know I'm going to find what I look for. And I don't just know I'm going to find it through their organic results. Even their ads are relevant. And that's how they've become a really successful engine. They're customer-centric. They strive to give people exactly what they're looking for. And so Google wants to ensure its advertisers are following this philosophy. And quality score is a measure of whether or not you're creating relevant content for users, for Google users. So you can see, if somebody does a search for men's leather shoes size 9, the aim of the game is to provide them an ad that's reflective of exactly what they're looking for. And then send them to a landing page that is exactly what they're looking for. And if you can create this string of relevancy, you will get good quality scores. And so you might be saying to yourself, okay, that's like really nice. You know, like Google is telling me I'm doing a good job. What's in it for me? Well, Google has made sure that there's quite a bit in it for you. So quality score, first off, impacts your position. The higher the quality score is, the more likely you are to get a high position on the SERP. So for example, as you can see down here in this diagram below, someone could be bidding $2 and somebody else could be bidding $8. In a traditional auction, that $8 person will always win. But not so with AdWords, because instead they look at the quality score in conjunction with the bid. And we actually see that that person who's bidding really low, they have done their job. They have a great quality score. And the person who's throwing all the money at the table has a crappy quality score. They have a 1. And so, according to the ad rank formula, advertiser number 1, who's paying a quarter of what the the $8 bidder is willing to pay, actually gets the top position. So there's this huge benefit to having a high quality score. And it's not just about positioning. It's also impacting your price. So this is really cool. The higher the quality score is, the lower that denominator is in this equation. And so you're actually going to pay less if you have a higher quality score. So as you can see here, this is how it plays out. Your price is the ad rank of the person below you divided by your quality score plus a penny. So if we go back to that example we used before with the $2 bidder and the $8 bidder, the $2 bidder would only be paying $1.61. That $8 bidder would be spending way more. So what it all boils down to is you should never be settling for average when it comes to your quality score. Instead, you should shoot for above a 5. If you can get above a 5, you're getting a discount. Google's saying, hey, thanks for doing a good job. Here's a discount. If you have below a 5, you're being penalized by Google. So your goal should be able to get as high quality scores as possible. Now, I'm going to warn you right now, quality scores don't change overnight. This is a long, ongoing process, particularly if you have a poor historical background with Google. It's going to take a lot longer to get those high quality scores. So if you're at 2s or 3s right now, you shouldn't be beating yourself up because you can't get it to a 10. What you should be doing is striving for a 5 or a 6. And then once you hit the 5 or 6, maybe in a couple months you can get it to a 7 or an 8. But I want to be clear, this isn't overnight. This is something that you should be constantly working for, constantly striving for on a keyword by keyword basis. All right, that brings me to number 5, which is you're responsible for social media, SEO, content marketing, stocking the coffee machines, doing payroll, whatever that might be, the list goes on. And unfortunately, there are so many people out there that fall into this very, very challenging position. And in the words of Justin Bieber, I just want to say I'm really sorry. Because that stinks. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I am so sorry for you because that's a really tough job. In fact, it's hard enough for me to stay on top of this evolving world of paid search and social, and I have no idea how people manage to do more. And I would encourage you, if you are struggling to do all of these tasks, definitely to employ some help. So I have a poll for you guys. I'd like to know how frequently you log into AdWords. I'm just going to launch this poll really quick and let's see what you guys say. I have a hunch. So on the next slide, I put my cards out there. I'll tell you what I assume. But we'll see. Hopefully you guys will surprise me in a good way. Okay, so I had Callie launch the poll. Callie, go ahead and read the results.
So it looks like we have about 50% logging in once a week, followed by 30% once a day, and then the rest is kind of scattered. So,
all right,
pretty good.
So on that, I am incredibly impressed. And you know what? I shouldn't be surprised. The reason I say I shouldn't be surprised is because you guys actually found the time to show up on this call and care about your account. So you guys are doing great. It sounds like this is my guess. My guess was 50% of small business advertisers only do optimizations once per quarter. I expected more of you guys to say once per quarter. And if that was the case, I totally understand. But the reality is that's 4 times a year. And even if you're making it in there once a month, that's 12 times a year. That's not a way to run a sustainable, successful PPC account. And I get that you're busy, and I understand that you're busy, but there's got to be a way that we can help you guys find the time to get into your account on a weekly basis. And what we see is to truly move the needle with PPC. Ongoing optimization on a weekly basis is critical. So my challenge to all of you is to find 20 minutes a week to spend on PPC. The average person spends 2 hours on Facebook a day. I probably spend double that and then toss in a couple of YouTube videos. I mean, I am the biggest time waster, but I can always find a way to cut out some of those activities and at least make it into my PPC account 20 minutes a week. And there's a lot you can get done in 20 minutes. Now, we have a tool that helps you manage your account in 20 minutes a week. So if you need additional help and you do want somebody to kind of streamline that process for you, that's definitely an option. Or you can just take the time to kind of define your own workflow and do it weekly. But I really encourage you to be in your account on a weekly basis, understanding what's going on with it, and making constant optimizations. There are always things you can be optimizing. Keywords you can be adding, negatives you can be adding, bids you can be tweaking. There's quite a variety of just basic tasks you should be doing on a regular basis. Number 6, your spend is through the roof, but you have nothing to show for it. Well, that is really frustrating because if you're spending more money in PPC and pouring more money into it, you should only be doing that if you're seeing a greater return. So first things first, are you tracking conversions? I can't tell you how many people come to me and they're like, I'm spending a lot of money on PPC and it's not working. And I say, all right, what is a conversion to you? what is your conversion rate? You know, we start trying to dive into the information, and then the first thing they say is, well, I'm not tracking conversions, but I noticed I've been spending a lot more money on PPC, and my phone isn't ringing as much as I think it should be. Or I haven't seen quite as many visitors come through the door. Well, look, if you're not tracking it, then I don't even want to hear your complaints. You know, you have to have this full picture in order to understand what's going on. So make sure you're tracking conversions. And I don't just mean conversions on your website. I mean also phone calls. If you take phone calls, if you're making phone call information available via your mobile ads, your extensions, your website, make sure that call tracking is set up so you can understand where those calls are coming from. And I think you may be surprised how many are coming through paid search. Other things to think about are your landing pages up to snuff. I see this all the time. You can have the best PPC account in the world. You can have every bell and whistle set up. You can have the most amazing click-through rates with no conversions. And that's if you have a crappy landing page. So if your landing page isn't a good experience, doesn't provide a good experience to the user, like this one frankly feels pretty scammy, hard to read, hard to even figure out how to convert. Or if your landing pages just aren't relevant. If somebody's searching for purple patent leather shoes and they show up on a purple clogs page, no way they're going to convert because you're just not giving them what they're looking for. Even if you have the best ads in the world, they won't convert if you don't have what they need on your landing pages. So make sure your landing pages are up to snuff. Number 7, you inherited a bad apple. So this is for all of you guys out there who work in agencies and are constantly taking on new PPC accounts that have run through a million different owners, or you moved into a role where you're taking over your company's PPC account. And more often than not, the reason that you are now taking over for someone else is because they hadn't figured it out. They weren't doing a great job. So if you inherit a bad Apple account, the first thing to do is to step back and take a deep breath. Like, it can be totally overwhelming, but the only way to get through it is to have kind of a calm, collected demeanor as you pick through the account. And take the time to assess the damage. Figure out what was going on in this account. Were they tracking conversions? And if so, were they tracking all of the possible conversions? What was a conversion for them? Then look at their account structure. Do they have tightly knit ad groups? Do their keywords, ad text, and landing pages match up in a perfect string of relevancy? Look at their campaign settings. Were these campaigns, how much money were they spending on them? How were the campaigns segregated? What is their targeting per campaign? Look at their bids and their match types, right? Match types is huge. Look at what match types they have set up. And finally, look at their segmentation. There's a million ways you can segment an account, and it's really important to take the time to understand what they have been doing with regards to segmentation, or if they didn't have any segmentation kind of strategy set up, like they didn't have a mobile-specific strategy, or what else? Let's say they weren't looking at specific locations differently. Take the time to understand what was doing well and what wasn't, so you can use all of that data to your advantage as you create the newer, better version of their account. And then the next thing you need to do is figure out how you're going to implement your plan of attack. So there's 2 ways you can go about fixing a bad Apple account. The first way is to renovate it. Now, if there's some good stuff in this account, some stuff worth saving, if their performance was okay, they have some good quality scores on there, you don't want to wipe it all out completely. It's going to be tough to rebuild it. Anytime Google sees these big drastic changes, it can be bad. So you're going to kind of slowly peel away at the problematic parts of the account, slowly optimize it over time, kind of like a housing remodel, until you get it to be kind of the tip-top shape you want it to be. If the account is a complete disaster with really crappy quality scores and nothing that you'd like to salvage, go ahead, bulldoze it, start from start fresh, brand new. One thing I would say, instead of deleting the whole account, pause it. Always pause it when you're making changes so it's easy to go back and look on what you used to have running in there. Sometimes you can glean some really interesting information from that. But be mindful, you don't always want to bulldoze and you don't always want to remodel. You need to create a plan of attack based on the status of that account. And to find the status of that account, you need to do that initial kind of overview, deep dive, figure out what's going on, that original assessment. Number 8, you're afraid to try new things. So I understand the sentiment. I too can be afraid to try new things, but you have to remember, oftentimes there's no big rewards if there's no big risk involved. So sometimes you just kind of have to jump and hope that something's going to work. There are so many cool features out there, and if you aren't willing to try them, you're going to fall behind everyone else, because eventually everyone is going to catch on to these cool new features, and they're going to become the norm. When I think back to ad extensions, in 2011, when I first started really working in PPC, ad extensions were this cool little secret weapon we would pull out. It was like, oh, your account's doing well, let's set up extensions. This is going to revolutionize your account performance. Nowadays, extensions are the norm. In fact, if you don't have ad extensions, you're essentially penalized. So you have to be willing to check out these new features and try and do it sooner than later. Beat people to it. You see things coming out like customer match targeting. This is so exciting. Google's foray into identity-based marketing. There are ways to try this in kind of a calculated, small manner, but that you could really reap dividends with this. Structured snippets, just any new extensions. Always be open to trying them. Remarketing, just launched in Bing. You're seeing good things with remarketing in AdWords and Facebook. Try it with Bing. There's just so many features coming out, and they're constantly coming out. And if you're not aware of these, because you're too busy with other things, start following some online publication that can keep you abreast of these. Here at WordStream, we roll out a ton of this on our blog. There's AdWords Insights blog. There's plenty of places to help you stay abreast of new things happening in the paid search world. And if you read about these things and you're intrigued by them, but you're still a little bit nervous to try them, then you definitely want to turn to these blogs. Because what we often see on blogs, PPC Hero, WordStream, SEJ, Search Engine Land, these are places where people who are excited about trying new things are publishing what happened when they gave them a shot. And in fact, a lot of these people tried these items when they were in beta, so they may have data on how they worked while they were in beta, so you can actually figure out if they were working and implement them pretty soon after they were launched, because you can take from others' experience in the beta and decide whether or not you want to apply it. So if you are kind of second guessing whether or not you want to utilize some of these new features, do some research. There's plenty of people out there who are sharing their experience and can let you know statistically what happened in their account. Number 9, almost there, guys. You're solely relying on Google's optimization suggestions. Now, little known fact, I'm a bartender and a waitress. And if you've ever gone out to dinner, and if you're one of those people who says, I'm deciding between the steak and the fish, which one should I get? You'll always know an honest waitress if she tells you the cheaper thing, right? Because as a waitress, I want your bill to be as high as possible so I get a better tip. So I am a little bit biased. If you are oblivious enough that you're not sure what you want and you're asking me, I'm going to tell you the more expensive dish. Google's the same way. They're not partial. They're not just in it to help you out. They're in it because they're making money off of you. And I don't mean this in a bad way. I mean, I'm happy. I love PPC. I think it's a great thing. But I'm not going to lie to you and say that Google is only in it to help you out. This is their biggest source of revenue. They're raking in tons of money off of your PPC ads. So listen to their suggestions, but don't listen to them only. Because oftentimes when Google helps you, you end up spending more money. You'll note they're always willing to tell you when your campaigns may be losing clicks due to a limited budget, or your bids may be a low and average threshold to get you impressions. When you call them and ask for help, sure, they're going to provide some great help to you, but they're not going to help you set a ton of negatives. They're not going to help you lower your spend. They're going to help you find more opportunity with more spend. So take what they say with a grain of salt. Don't ignore their help, but make sure that you're not solely going to them for help. Instead, turn to a third party. As you can see, our software analyzes your account as a third party and provides recommendations based on what we see going on in your account. So that can be a good option for you. There's also tons of people out there that can help. Most of us on the customer success team here work closely with a Twitter group called PPC Chat. If you need help, if you're not really sure what to do in your account, this is a group of experts who can share their own experience with you. So if you say, hey, I ran into this problem in my account, Google recommended I take XYZ steps, do you guys agree? These experts will weigh in and kind of give their 2 cents on the situation. Having that third party reassurance can be really, really big and really helpful. And finally, you're just struggling to stay on top of all of the new changes happening in AdWords. AdWords is, like we've said a million times on this webinar, constantly evolving. There's so many new things out there, and it can be really tough to stay on top of all these changes. Look at this, right? This was 2000. Only 15, 16 years ago, the SERP looked totally different. 2008, it looked totally different. This was last week. I mean, look at how dramatically Google has changed in the last couple of years. And it's only getting more complex. We have Bing ads releasing remarketing. Facebook is now in the mix. Facebook and Google are exploring new identity-based marketing strategies. We have Yahoo Gemini kind of appearing on the scene, talking about native ads. Google releasing new partnerships with analytics to try and help you track your goals better. There's just so much coming out at such a rapid pace. How do you stay up to date? Well, like I mentioned earlier, PPC Chat is an awesome way to do this. PPC Chat, just a group of people who are really passionate about paid search, get together, bounce ideas off one another, and they're always open to new people kind of jumping in and asking questions. So I recommend following this group on Twitter, engaging in PPC Chat, which is a organized chat every Tuesday at noon. And then just on top of that, anytime you have a question, tweet at these guys. They're often willing to help. Next, make sure you're following a blog. If you check out this blog post that I've listed right here, the 25 digital marketing news sources you need to be reading, that's a really nice curated list of marketing publications that can help you stay up to date that we're a fan of. So definitely check those out. And then finally, Inside AdWords is Google's official AdWords blog where they post about all new changes coming out. The other option out there is to just let somebody else take on that kind of onerous work for you. So if you know you can't stay on top of these blog posts, and you know you can't stay on top of this ever-evolving industry, work with a consultant. Outsource entirely. But we have something called Premier Consulting, whereby you meet with a consultant once a week or once a month for an hour a month. And these guys are in the PPC world every day. They kind of live and breathe PPC, so they'll be able to stay on top of it for you and help you know what changes are relevant to your account. So that brings me, that's kind of our list. Those are the top 10. I'm going to pass it over to Callie to walk through the offers that we have for you guys.
Great. Now, before we get to some Q&A for Erin, I want to take a quick minute, and chat with you about some special offers we have for you today. Based off of what Erin presented, if you want to get a free personalized live demo of WordStream Advisor and see how that can help you, an AdWords consultant will sit with you and walk you through, your account, see what you're doing really well, and kind of point out those areas that you need help with and show you what we can do for you to start having PPC work better for you. Next, we have a one-on-one AdWords assessment with a certified consultant. Here's where we'll use one of our free tools, the AdWords Performance Grader, and that too will point out what you're doing really well and where you need help, and we'll provide some insight on how to get better in the areas that need improvement. And then finally, if you don't need help with your PPC, just let us know that as well. Now, Erin, while everybody is filling that out, I have some questions for you. Other than the Google AdWords certification and the few sites that you mentioned, which do you find, where should somebody go? What's helpful to obtain and learn more about PPC?
Yeah, there are so many programs out there that can help you learn about PPC. I believe, don't quote me on it, there was a company called Cardinal Path who was offering true online classes in paid search. And I'm sure if you check on places like Coursera and Lynda, there's probably some great classes out there. I think the Google AdWords certification kind of covers the same basis, or even a lot of the content shared in our PPC University. The key, at least this was a key for me, you can learn all of this pretty easily. It's not hard to memorize the basics of PPC. In order to really understand it, you have to get in and spend some time working in an account. I know that's tough if you don't currently work for a company that has a PPC account, but that hands-on experience just takes you leaps and bounds further. Or if you do have an account and you're just starting out, start really small. Now you have to have enough budget that you get traffic, but start with a really limited campaign, just selling one specific thing, and learn from that campaign, and then you can kind of build off that over time. But a lot of it is trial and error.
Great. Now we have time for a few more questions. The first is, how much time should I give a keyword to perform better before I rate it as poor? Do you have a recommended time frame? How should I go about addressing that concern?
That's a great question. It's really tough for me to give you kind of a baseline, and that's because it depends on the amount of volume that you're getting in your account. If you normally, or if you set up a new keyword and you're automatically seeing a ton of stuff coming through, then you might know in a couple of days. Or if you don't get a ton of volume, it might take weeks. But let it run, normally if you're letting it run more than a month or two and you're not seeing any volume, pretty bad sign. Take the time to make sure your bid is aggressive enough for it to get volume. Do some time looking in the keyword planner to understand if that keyword is a high or low volume keyword, but if it's low volume and you're just not seeing stuff come through, get rid of it.
Great. Now, what is the easiest or best way to evaluate the performance of any particular keyword?
The best way to evaluate performance? Oh,
yeah.
Look, some people are going to say quality score. I would not say quality score and only quality score. I think you need to look at these from a holistic perspective. If a keyword is getting a ton of traffic, a ton of impressions, no clicks on the ad, that scares me. That low click-through rate is a bad sign. It means that either my keyword, or it means that my ads aren't relevant, or I just have a ton of competition whose ads are way more compelling than mine. Low quality score, also never a good sign. It means you have a little extra work to do. Doesn't necessarily mean the keyword's bad. It means you have work to do on it. If you're seeing no conversions coming in, that's also a scary sign. It means you have work to do. It means you have a lot to assess. Is the keyword actually relevant enough to what you're selling that it's worth bidding on? Are your landing pages relevant? You know, if you're getting a lot of people clicking on your ads and you're not seeing them convert off the landing pages, that can be a scary thing, and it's definitely worth assessing more.
Great. Speaking of quality score, do you have any examples or can point somebody in the direction of some examples of a really high quality score? This person in particular, you know, they feel confident about theirs and they seem to be working okay, but they're only getting a 6 out of 10 and they don't really know what they're doing wrong.
Oh, yeah, we can't release any of our client data, like specific client data. So I can't give you examples, and I know people have this problem all the time. Things that I would think about, like click-through rate, we've seen is the biggest driver of quality score. So anything you can do to get your click-through rates up are likely going to have an impact on quality score. Meaning adding, you know, extensions. There's a bunch of new extensions out that you can try. A/B testing your ads to see what you can do to, you know, anything you can do to get those click-through rates up. That certainly helps. Landing page improvements also help, but click-through rate is a bigger driver. I'll be honest, and I'm saying this without having real data to support it, so take it with a grain of salt. We have seen that certain industries tend to generally have lower quality scores than others. So I'll give you the example of ourselves. We work with software. We've seen that software companies traditionally tend to start with lower quality scores, and it's tougher to get to that 10 out of 10. It's sometimes impossible. Like our PPC account is not all 10s out of 10s. So it could be an industry thing for you, but I don't know enough about your account.
Cool. I think you offered some good insight there. I'll leave the...
If you end up doing a demo with one of our sales reps, they're usually pretty good about walking people through and helping them understand if there is opportunity with regard to quality score. If that's the case, please feel free to let that sales rep know that you were on my webinar, and I'd be happy to dive in and look at your trial account and give you my 2 cents on it as well. Because like I said, it's kind of tough without actually seeing your account.
Great, and thanks for pointing that out, Erin. Again, like the assessment and the live demo, you're going to have somebody like Erin on the phone looking at your account, really digging into things to offer you some real suggestions. So definitely take advantage of that. I'll leave it up for just a minute or two more. And I think we have one more question for you, Erin.
Uh-huh.
Now, you talked about, you know, if you have a little bit of bad luck and you inherit not the best of AdWords accounts. So say, you know, what would be your first step if you inherit an AdWords account and find that there are multiple different websites with all their ads under one AdWords account?
Multiple different websites
with all their ads under one AdWords account.
Oh, I hate when people do this. My guess is that is this an agency client? If you're an agency, so let me explain. A lot of times we'll see agencies take all of their clients and house them all under one AdWords account. So that's kind of the most common time you'll see somebody with a ton of different domains in an AdWords account all split up by different ad groups. They're selling different things. Not illegal. It's definitely not the best route to go. It makes it a nightmare from a reporting standpoint. So I would recommend having separate accounts. Okay, so this person is saying they're a development company with multiple project websites. Okay, I would definitely recommend, I think it's easier to work in separate accounts and have them all housed under the same MCC, and I say that primarily from a reporting standpoint. Also, when you think about it, right, your quality score is actually, they recently released this, or within the last year, that your quality score starting off is the keyword's initial quality score is impacted by the overall quality scores of the account before they start. So if you have, you know, one of these groups doing poorly, that could impact a brand new ad group that you started out for a different website. You probably don't want that to happen. So I would recommend keeping it split up. And then there are sometimes you run into some dicey issues. So like for the same ad group, you certainly can't have 2 different domains. That will could get you kicked off Google altogether. They can deem that double serving. So it's better to keep things separate. I'll kind of leave it at that.
Great. I think that's all the time we have today. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us, and I'd also like to thank Erin. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
We always appreciate having you. Again, just to reiterate a point from the beginning, we will be sending out an email. It will be from Erin, so definitely keep your eyes out for that, with both the recording and slides from today. And if you'd like to contact her, definitely just hop on Twitter and send her a tweet. And again, thanks, and we hope to see you at an upcoming webinar. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, guys.